Is physician-assisted suicide ethically justifiable? Con number 1. So when we're thinking about ethics and specifically end-of-life ethics, there's a lot you need to consider on all the sides of this issue. So the first major aspect that I'm going to be talking about is the Hippocratic Oath. This oath, the Hippocratic Oath, is an oath that all doctors take when they become a doctor and go into this field. Some of the topics covered in this oath include to regard teachers as parents. They must teach offspring for free. They must do always what is going to benefit the patient. They must never give any deadly medicines. They cannot cut for stone. They will not seduce the patient. They will not reveal anything that ought not to be spoken, and there's no mention of duty to treat. So basically what this means is that doctors have promised not to do anything that is going to harm the patient and that they are helping. So this obviously goes against end of life because the doctors have promised not to do anything that's going to harm the patient, and assisting them in physician-assisted suicide obviously is harming those patients. In the Hippocratic Oath, there's a specific line in an exact quote that states, "I will give no deadly medicines to anyone if asked, nor any such counsel." All doctors take this oath, therefore there should be no doctors giving medicines that will kill. There should also not be any doctors giving suggestions of ways that patients can kill themselves. Another topic that we can cover when talking about physician-assisted suicide is autonomy. So autonomy is the right of a patient or a person in general to make their own choices. When you exercise your autonomy, you're exercising your right to make your own choices. In the medical community, this usually means you are choosing whether or not you want a specific form of treatment, or how you want to be treated, or any other information that might come along. So again, with autonomy, if a patient chooses to die, they are exercising their autonomy. Should we allow them to make that choice? If we let them make that choice, would that be going against the Hippocratic Oath? I think so, because again, that Hippocratic Oath states that we must not do anything that's going to harm the patient. So if we don't let them make that choice by keeping them alive, we aren't letting the patient. Another thing we can kind of think about with these end-of-life ethics is the idea of futility. So not only do they have their autonomy, but there is this idea of something being futile, which basically means it's just anything that's incapable of producing any result. It fails utterly in a desired end through intrinsic defect. It's useless, ineffectual, or vain. So this basically means if you know something is pointless and it isn't going to work, you shouldn't try it. In the medical community, this means that if you know a specific medicine isn't going to work on a patient, you shouldn't even try it. It's futile to give it a try. Like you wouldn't want a viral infection. We know that's not going to do anything, therefore it's pointless to try that. It's futile. It is true. There's something that we know that is going to keep them. It is our duty to give it to them and to use all of the knowledge that these doctors have to help the patients. But then who actually decides what is futile? Is it the society around us saying something is pointless? The patient may say a treatment is futile if they are requesting for physician-assisted suicide, but then the doctor might say it's not because they have that Hippocratic Oath behind them that says they need to help them out. So in end-of-life ethics, I believe the doctors have the education. They're the ones with all of that knowledge. Therefore, they should be the ones deciding what's futile and knowing that they need to help all of the patients that come in and that they are assigned to. Not only are just the ideas of autonomy and futility a problem, but there is also this idea of ability to pay. In America specifically, healthcare and health expenses are very high. So if a patient might be refusing treatment simply because they can't afford to pay it, but we should still help them. There might be like grants or other ways that they can get this money, and if that's just the reason that they're refusing treatment and requesting that they just be left to die, we shouldn't accept that as a reason. We must continue to treat them and help them out because, again, that all goes back to that Hippocratic Oath that they are just wanting to die again, we have this promise that we're going to help them out and do what we can to keep them alive and keep them safe. Occasionally there will be a case where the patient can't really speak for themselves. They're maybe have been in such a bad accident that they no longer have that ability for the time being, or whatever the case is. So in that scenario, we would look towards what is called an advance directive. So basically, this is a general term that refers to like your oral and written instructions about your future medical care in the event that you become unable to speak for yourself. Like I said, if there's an accident or something along those lines. Unfortunately, there have been times where the patient doesn't have this advance directive. So in those cases, we would look towards a surrogate decision making occasionally. And what that means is just the patient doesn't have an advance directive. So we would let someone that's close to them, like a parent or family member or spouse, make that decision for them of how they believe they would want to be treated. With surrogate decision making, it just brings you back to that idea of keeping them alive. If this patient's requesting to work with physician-assisted suicide, it's not just affecting the patient. It is affecting all these loved ones and people around them, as well as the doctor who would be helping them with that request. But then again, these people aren't the patient. They might think they know what the patient would want, but not always exactly. In the case of Dax Coward, he requested to die many times when he had his accident. So what happened was in 1973, he parked his car over a dry creek bed where there was this propane gas leak. When his car didn't start, he went and checked the ignition, tried the car again, and the second time the car exploded. Dax Coward was severely burned, and he requested to just be shot immediately. In the ambulance ride to the hospital, he demanded not to be treated. He kept refusing the treatment, but the doctors continued to help him. And once at the hospital, he received daily whirlpool tanking with extreme pain. He refused treatment for 14 months while the doctors continued to treat him. He had a horrible life condition and even attempted suicide multiple times. But once he was through those treatments, he was still able to have a somewhat normal life. It ended up only being that short period of time that he was in that immense pain. He was able to still go through college, get a law degree, and got to spend all this time with his wife, and he lived all the way until April 2019. If the doctors had just let him die immediately, he wouldn't have been able to still experience all of those other things that he had in life, right? So these are some more pictures some pictures of Dax Coward before his accident. You can see he's just a happy guy, normal guy. And here's some pictures of him after. Obviously, there were some things that didn't quite go away. He did suffer a tremendous accident, but the fact that he got to spend time with his wife and live all the way until 2019 is just proof that we shouldn't allow physician-assisted suicide. He wasn't the only one that act was going to affect. Even though he asked to die many times, it was better that they kept him alive so that he could still have those enjoyable life memories. Now, this is all great and all, but kind of where do we go from here, right? We can go back just to the beginning of kind of some basic philosophers, right? And we can think of that deontological approach. So, like, for example, Kant says that what matters most is how you go about things, not necessarily the end result. So as long as you're doing something in the right way, you're okay. So because of this, Kant might say doctors have a duty to do what is going to help the patient. But maybe what's right in the moment for the patient, what the doctor feels is right. So there's still that idea of that it's not necessarily what your moments are or what your actions are in the moment, but what the end result is. The consequences are a lot more important than the way you get there. So according to this logic, Mill would say it's much more important to help the patient live than to let them die. Even if they are in this pain, there is a way to help them live if there's a way to help them live, that's what's going to be most important there. So I think we can kind of go along with Mill there and agree that physician-assisted suicide is not ethically justifiable. When you know something is going to help save someone's life in the end, it isn't just all right to let them die. It goes all the way back to the Hippocratic Oath. It goes to the autonomy of the doctors, and just this idea of a consequentialist point of view, right? It's going to be the greatest good for the greatest number of people. If we let this person continue to live, there's going to be loved ones that will continue to have this person in their life. The treatments might end up working and they can have a great life, as well as they can go on to help society as a whole. Physician-assisted suicide, I think, can be considered as murder, and we all know that murder is wrong. Again, physician-assisted suicide is not ethically justifiable. Thank you.